Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of our Sheltered Stasis playthrough. In the last episode, we started our quest to escape to the stars by learning what we need to escape, rearranging our shelter a bit, and heading out on our first expedition. Speaking of our expedition, Nancy has just informed us that they have finished searching the police station, so let's examine the items. From here, we will only be able to take with us a pipe and a scrap pile. I would have liked to have been able to grab the broken radio, however, what we already have in our inventory is of greater use to us at the moment. Here we can see this question mark represents hidden items that are buried and require a prospector's kit to access. I don't feel too bad about it though. Chances are we wouldn't have been able to fit the item in our already full inventory. Nonetheless, let's take a look at what it would take to make a prospector's kit. Okay, so it would take 6 metal, 3 wood, and 2 rope. We will bookmark it to keep it in mind. However, for the moment, the metal will be better spent on a recycling plant, and the rope would be better spent on a punching bag. While we are in the workbench, let's take a look at all of the other items that could be brought with us as tools on an expedition. Camouflage decreases the chance of encountering enemies by 25%. However, the requirement is that all expedition members must be wearing it. We might consider using this if we embark on a solo expedition, but other than that, the motion detector would be better suited for its purpose. Tier 3 offers a lockpit set, as I have gone over before, as well as a tent. A tent would make our survivors' needs like rest and cleanliness decrease 50% slower while on an expedition. However, due to expeditions having a maximum of 4 items, the tent is almost entirely useless in the stasis mode. In Tier 4, we could craft a hacking terminal or a motion detector. Just like the Prospector's Kit and the Lockpick set, the hacking terminal opens up another type of hidden item. However, the hacking terminal is a lot more expensive than the other two, so we won't be making it anytime soon. The motion detector is also fairly expensive, and so for that reason we won't make it soon either, but the 50% reduced encounter rate is something we will want eventually. It's not long then until Gregory reports to the base that they have another enemy contact, and we will have our expedition engage. This time, Nancy gets the first move, and that means Gregory might have a chance to get the finishing blow. Nancy lands all 3 hits for a total of 80 damage, so Gregory only needs to land 1 or 2 hits to get his first kill. Unfortunately, however, the mutant instead counters his attack for 6 damage. This gives the mutant a chance to retaliate, however his attempt to disarm Nancy was without success. With Nancy landing 1 more hit with the rock, the mutant falls to the ground. And with that, we obtain another set of burnt clothes, as well as a few more experience points for Nancy. Back at the base, the scientist informs us of a feature of our map. He will occasionally give us random tips like this, and since we have nothing else going on at the moment, let's see what this mutant activity is. These epidemic circle areas represent areas where an expedition could expect to encounter an abundance of mutants, often more than 1 at a time. We will try to avoid these areas while we are still using pistols and rocks as weapons. Our current expedition has nothing to worry about though, so we will continue as planned. Next, we should give Mark and Lucy something to do. We can start by having Mark make 2 medkits, and then we will have Lucy make a medkit as well once she wakes up. Plans quickly change when our first worms appear. Worms will appear from time to time and will try to damage our power generator, so we want to get rid of them immediately. We will wake Lucy up and have her attack the worm closest to her. This will start a battle with all of the worms at the same time. Before Lucy gets there though, Gregory reports that he has finished searching the petrol station, so let's loot that first. Here we pick up 4 pipes, 1 valve, 2 nails, 1 cordite, and 3 burnt clothes. This time I decide to take the broken radio instead of our 2 logs. Admittedly, I probably should have either done this earlier or not have done it at all. After Lucy gets her unnecessary ladder climbing exercises in, she begins the battle with the worms. We can also have another person at the base help in the fight, and that will have to be Mark, the only other person at the base. For equipment, we will give both of them rocks, as well as all of our medkits and bandages. We probably won't need to use any of them, but we get them back at the end of the battle anyways, so there's no reason not to equip them. To start off the fight, Lucy will melee the first worm for 21 damage, before being countered for a devastating 1 damage on her second attack. Mark will be more successful, scoring 2 hits for 42 damage before being countered for even less damage than Lucy took. The lack of damage from the worm continues, as even when all 3 attacks land, it's only able to do 6 damage. Their lack of damage means that getting worms out of our base is more of a cleanup job than a life-threatening fight. It would take around 4 worms to be a threat to a single survivor with only a rock, but these odds will probably never occur. Despite it being a cleanup job, it pays well in the form of 1 worm husk per worm killed, as well as a decent chunk of combat XP. The worm husks can be used to make fertilizer, but we will get more into that later. For now, we can have our expedition continue searching for loot, and have Mark water our plants. Before Lucy can be given a task, Gregory radios for us to examine what he found. Here we will pick up 1 metal, 1 nail, 1 transistor, and 1 piece of wood. Not much, but it's still 4 more items that we didn't have before. After we tell our expedition party to continue searching, we can have Lucy suit up for some base repairs. Almost every object in the base has a condition that degrades over time. All it takes to maintain these items is to have someone spend a bit of time fixing it. There is no resource cost required. We don't need to fix them until their condition is below 10%, but while there is nothing else to do at the base, we should spend time fixing things now so we have more time to do other things later. While we are on the topic, let's talk a bit more about the filters. Aside from the durability upgrades on both of them, the rest of the upgrades are pretty useless in the stasis mode, and are only here because they are useful in the main survival mode of the game. It isn't technically a requirement for us to win this game mode, however, for the sake of completion, we could make it an objective to max out both of these filters before we escape on the rocket. Let me know what you think in the comments below. For now though, we can continue fixing things around the base until our expedition is ready to loot the scrapyard. Here we will gain 1 metal, 3 pipes, 1 valve, 1 piece of wood, and a broken radio. Nothing else of interest happens until our expedition is ready to start looting the next location. This time it is a small office complex. Here we'll grab 1 metal, 3 pipes, 2 wiring, 1 nail, 2 pieces of wood, and a broken laptop. We will also get rid of the broken TV to grab a rifle. Even though the rifle is useless to us as a weapon, it will be worth a significant amount more points in the item fabricator. Back at the base, Lucy can continue fixing the filters and Mark can get back to crafting first aid kits. I would have made these sooner, but I forgot that I cancelled making them when the worms showed up. While our expedition searches the farm, Mark finishes crafting and Lucy begins fixing the water filter. Before too long then, the farm is ready to be looted, but we will only find a pipe, a piece of wood, and a scrap pile here. As our expedition begins searching another farm, we can get the fabricator going again, as it has been idle for quite some time now. We will start making the materials for a punching bag now, starting with 2 units of leather. To do so, we will salvage a handful of useless items, a couple of pieces of plastic, and 17 pieces of wood. We don't need a lot of wood for anything anytime soon, and our expedition will be bringing back a decent amount anyways, so these 17 pieces will be best used as salvage. As we're telling Mark to go fix the shelter door, we get the notification that some of our plants are ready to be harvested. But before we can do that, Nancy tells us that they're ready to loot the second farm. Here we pick up 2 pieces of metal, 2 pieces of pipe, 2 nails, 1 set of burnt clothes, a broken radio, and a scrap pile. Our next destination for the expedition is the school, and before they get there, we will have Mark start harvesting our plants. This time they are fully grown, unlike the last time. While Mark is traveling down the ladders throughout the base, our expedition radios us that they're ready to examine the items at the school. At this school, we get 2 pieces of metal, 1 valve, 1 wiring, 2 pieces of plastic, and 5 pieces of wood. We also find an axe here. This is our next best melee weapon that we will be getting in the game, and so we will gladly get rid of 2 cordite to pick up the axe. Next destination for our expedition is the pharmacy. While Mark manages to just climb down a couple of ladders, the expedition manages to travel to the next building. Don't ask me how that makes any sense. Right, so we can see here we got 5 food this time from harvesting. That's 2 more than the 3 we got the first time when we harvested them before they were completed. So we'll have Mark go ahead and plant some more seeds and water them. Our expedition tells us that they're done searching the pharmacy, so we'll go ahead and grab 2 pieces of metal, 1 valve, 1 wiring, 1 piece of wood, and a book. Back at the base, we are surprised with a breach encounter. The only way that this can happen in a stasis mode is when, at the surface, a mutant stumbles across one of your survivors while they are fixing the filters or otherwise doing something on the surface. And Lucy was doing exactly that, so a mutant must have walked up to her while she was fixing the filters. We cannot bring Mark into the battle with Lucy on this one because he is not currently wearing a suit. So what we will do is we will equip Lucy with all of our first aid kits, and we will also equip her with a rock. We have no reason not to equip her with all of our first aid kits. We probably won't even need one of them. But just like with the worms, we get them back at the end of the battle, so there's no reason not to use them. This is our first one-on-one fight of the playthrough. Let's see how well Lucy does. Her first attack doesn't connect, but after the mutant strikes for 17 damage, Lucy counters for 14 of her own. Our second turn is more successful than the first, with 1 hit landing for 26 damage. The mutant also lands a hit, but his attack only does 9 damage. Now it's our turn again, and this time Lucy lands all 3 hits for a total of 75 damage, enough to get the killing blow. Defeating mutants at our base rewards us with the same thing we would get out on an expedition: 1 set of burnt clothes and a little bit of combat XP. After the battle, our expedition reports to us that they have come across the next building, a small office complex, and we will tell them to begin searching the location. Then we can have Lucy return the suit, take a shower, and then go to bed. I think she's earned a good night's sleep. Mark has finished harvesting the first planter, but the second one isn't ready yet, so we'll just have him water the plants and fix up the planter. A little bit later then, Nancy has finished searching the small office complex. Here we will pick up 1 piece of metal, 2 pipes, a nail, a piece of wood, and a broken laptop. It's not long until Gregory finds the next pharmacy out in the wasteland, and as usual, we'll tell them to search the location. Nothing of interest happens then until they're done searching that pharmacy, where we will find 1 piece of metal, 1 piece of wood, 3 burnt clothes, a scrap pile, and a book. However, we already have 5 scrap piles, which is the maximum that it stacks up to, so we'll have to leave this one behind. We will tell Mark to get a bite of something to eat before our expedition once again radios us, this time with the information that they've found a police station, and we'll tell them to search it like usual. Nothing else of interest happens until they're done searching the police station, so I will fast forward until we're at the looting screen. Here we can grab one piece of nail, a circuit board, a battery, a piece of wood, a burnt clothes, and a broken radio. We're maxed out on pipes, so we'll have to leave those 2 pipes behind. Taking a quick look at the map, we can see that our expedition only needs to search a couple more buildings before they will be on their way back home. Once Mark has finished eating, we can send him to sleep, and then we can answer the radio transmission by telling Nancy to search the farm. We're at a point right now where there's not really much to do around the base. We're having Lucy run around fixing things that are at a condition of around 80%, which is definitely not the best way to be spending our time. This is why we want the punching bag, or at the very least, some books or some toys, so that way our survivors have something to do while they're at the base. Before long though, Gregory radios us to examine the items at the last stop before heading back to the base. At this last farm, we will get a piece of wiring, a transistor, a piece of wood, and a book. Most importantly though, after we confirm that we're done looting, our first expedition is now on its way back to the shelter. Before they can make their way all the way back to the base though, they run into a mutant along the way. Nancy goes first once again. Let's see if Gregory can get the final blow to get his first kill this time. Nancy lands all 3 of her hits for a total of 72 damage. And Gregory manages to land the other 2 hits required to finish the mutant off. One more set of burnt clothes, a bit of XP, and we're on our way back to the base. Alright, the other set of plants is ready to be harvested now, so we'll send Lucy to go ahead and start doing that. Our item fabricator has finished making both pieces of leather, and I think we'll wait for our expedition to get back before we start the next few pieces. The reason I'm waiting for them to get back first is because we can use some of the stuff they brought with them to use as salvage, instead of the items we currently have in the shelter. Fast forward a bit until Lucy finishes harvesting the second planter, and we'll have her plant new seeds and water them right away. Nothing else happens then until we can see on the surface of our shelter, Gregory and Nancy are coming back from their expedition. As soon as our expedition party enters the base through the second shelter door, we are rewarded with hazmat suit experience. There are 3 different types of ways to get experience: combat kills, distance traveled, and location searched. From this expedition we got 6 kills, traveled 36 distance, and searched 23 locations. We only got 2 points of experience total for our hazmat suits, but that's 2 more that we didn't have before. Our expedition party also is rewarded with a little bit of perception experience points. It's not a lot, considering how many locations you have to search to get it. However, every little bit helps. As we're taking a final look at what we got from that expedition, let's go over some of the highlights of it. We got 4 books and a toy. That means we can now use the bookshelf and the toy blocks to gain perception and intelligence and charisma while we're at the base. We also got 23 pieces of metal, 25 pieces of pipe, and 21 pieces of wood. So that's a decent chunk of building materials or salvage that we can use for the item fabricator. We found an axe, which is going to be the next best melee weapon over the rock. And we found 2 circuit boards, 7 valves, and 4 transistors, which are all important pieces of the recycling plant. We'll have Lucy make use of the toy box immediately. Increasing stats while there's nothing else to do is always a good idea, so that way we can get more out of our expeditions. Then we'll have Nancy and Gregory automatically start tending towards their needs, although we will probably end up microing them a little bit eventually. With some of the supplies we got from the expedition, we can start up our item fabricator again. We'll make the remaining 3 pieces of leather that we need for the first punching bag, and we'll use some flowers, some nails, some pipes, a spring, some wiring, a rifle, and some pieces of wood to do so. As Nancy and Gregory get some well-earned rest after returning from the expedition, I think it's time to slowly wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did and would like to support the channel, then you could subscribe to stay tuned for more videos. As always, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and remember to look forward to the new dawn.